Alright, today we're going to be taking a look at memos. We have here a sample memo that I've typed up and put on here. The names are fictional to protect the innocent, and these events are actually true. And actually Evernote is a software that's free to anybody who wants to download it. And I do actually recommend you do that. It's a handy note management system. It's really useful software, so you might want to take a look at it. That's just evernote.com. But for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on the memo structure and organization. So let's take a look at what we've got here. Now, the first thing to notice is that this memo isn't signed. John Bossman has screwed up. You sign a memo by writing your initials next to your name. So John Bossman has typed this up and printed it out, and he's all ready to distribute it, but he forgot to sign it. Signing it is really important. It's how your employees or your coworkers or your boss or whoever will know that it is authentic and endorsed and in final draft form. This prevents it from being seen as something sloppy or a rough draft form, or worse, a fraudulent memo. So we're going to just fix this up right now and add a signature to it. I know my initials are, very, very neat. Now this is signed and ready to go to press. So let's take a look at the elements and the structure that we used to make this happen. The first thing that you might notice is that we align everything along the left margin. There is no indenting in formal writing. Indenting is something that books will do. Indenting is something that you might do in a casual letter to a friend or family member, but in a business or professional setting, almost never will you indent anything in terms of paragraphs. So here, as you can see, everything lines up nice and crisp right along this margin. Make sure that you are doing that. This will make it look more uniform, and it will really allow your reader to focus on your message rather than being distracted by indentations or deviations from convention. When we're writing in a professional setting, the reason we have all these rules is because we really want to eliminate any sort of concern about the format or structure, and really keep our audience focused on the message at hand. So next up, we have moving in 1 inch. You want your left margin to be 1 inch in. You could go up to 1.5 inches, but really I prefer 1 inch. 1.5 inches starts to be in around here, and that starts to look like a lot of white space over here, and that risks distracting your audience as well. Next, skipping lines. We skip one line after every element. So you've got our date line right here, we skip a line. Our to line, skip a line. From, skip a line, blah blah, all the way down. You'll notice though that we skip a second line before any heading that we add in. And actually it's increasingly conventional to skip a second line here in the subject area too. I did not do that for this, but I probably should go back and revise my own memo and add in an extra line just to make sure that no one gets distracted by, well, I thought we were supposed to put 2 lines here. Is that important? Yeah, not as important as your message, but the problem is if they get distracted enough by something that's different or unexpected, then they're not going to pay attention to your message. They're going to be too caught up in saying, well, they did this wrong. And that doesn't reflect well on you as a writer. So I would probably go back and, just to be safe, put in a second skip line here after I was all done, but before I sent this out. Next, we're going to take a look at some of our components. First up, we have our opening. This is a very conventional opening, and I really encourage you to get used to this exact structure for your openings. Date line first, to line second, from line third, subject line fourth. Really, this is how most businesses do it. And you'll see a lot of little variations in memo structure within different businesses and organizations. But for the most part, they're going to have something very similar to this. And if you get used to this, having all these elements right up here at the beginning, then it becomes really easy to adapt to, say, if your organization wants the from line up here instead of the to line, and then the to line below the from line. Easy to adapt to that once you're in the habit of putting all this information up here right at the start. From there, we go to our first paragraph. You'll notice there is no heading here. I don't care if you use one heading like I did, 3 headings, 5 pages with 18 headings. That might be a little extreme. Does not matter. how many other headings you have. You will not put a heading before your first paragraph. Some people will say that's because this is an introduction. Some people might say it's because with the subject line that is kind of the header, but really the only rule you need to know is you don't do it, ever. So get used to that. Lastly, down here, you'll notice there is no signature. This isn't what's here so much as what is missing. You do not sign it. Don't put your name, don't type your name, no signature. Because again, as we saw right off the bat, we actually sign it by putting our initials up in the front line. So that's what a memo looks like. I wish you the best of luck in creating yours. I'll see you later.